Happy 2015. Ricky, good morning.
Good morning from snowing Washington, D.C.
You know, you're just a few hours away, a few minutes away, I guess, from the opening of the new session. And that means that we're going to talk about a new year. First of all, you're to be congratulated. I was reading some of the great stuff on your website the other day about 2014. A pretty good year, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it was one of our best years in terms of getting out and about around the world and bringing the team together.
I'm not sure, Ricky, that people know how many events you all do and what the mission statement is, what these events are all about. I mean, you and I talk all the time about critical issues like who's got what and who can defend us and who can help us. But talk about the importance of these actual eyeball-to-eyeball get-togethers that you guys literally do all over the world.
Yeah, we did 15 of them this past year. We had about 9 countries, different allied countries around the world. It's about building trust, number one, and relationships, number two, on this specific issue with missile defense.
Talk about one thing that's important, and that is, you know, technology has taken us all over. It's taken over our lives. We're texting, we're emailing, we're blasting, we're websiting. But talk about standing up at a little reception or sitting down and talking story with somebody eyeball to eyeball.
Well, they're different cultures, different people, different ways of thinking through things, and they're not like us. Mm-hmm. They're different. So with all this great technology, I mean, we have, as you said, the best technology in the world in shooting down ballistic missiles and sensing them and so forth. It still comes down to the operators. It still comes down to the person that pushes the button, that moves that equipment to where it needs to be, and to launch that stuff. So that's the key part of it. And they've got different codes, they've got different rules, they've got different security systems and so forth. So it's a difficult challenge to be able to bring the team together, to bring their side with our side, and it takes a lot of time and effort. So we're opening up some of those doors. We are going into these countries. We are recognizing their very best missile defenders, and we are bringing them with our best missile defenders inside that country.
You know, that's the thing that's one of the things that I've noticed, and that is that everybody, and you know, we always try to bring it home here to Hawaii, particularly to Kauai and Barking Sands. We know that every single person feels like they're a cog in the machine. In other words, there's no job too big and there's no job too small. I think that the recognition that the MDAA gives to the individuals, the boots on the ground guys, is really important, because doesn't it reactivate them and refocus them on what they're trying to do in the world?
But they're leaders. They are the actual leaders that shape and influence. They're game changers inside their own community, inside their own country. They need to be recognized. Defensive guys aren't recognized. As you well know, it's all about the offense. So we're out there trying to make sure that these guys get recognized, get valued, and bring everybody together on how important this issue is in shaping and protecting that territory that they're doing.
All right. Well, what we got here right now is, in a matter of minutes, the political atmosphere in this country is going to change. We've got a whole new ball game coming up, and I do know that there were many, many concerns in the last year. Despite all of the accomplishments, all of the concerns about budgetary items and things getting not funded, or things that were already appropriated not getting paid for. And I know that if it were possible to spend about 4 hours, you could roll out your bucket list. But I mean, I know that you got a few things on the front burner. Where can people help? Where can people find out more about what you think is important and get it supported with their legislation?
Sure. And number one is protecting our country. Number one is defending our country against all the threats that are continuing to grow, that are becoming more and more out front, more and more, reliable to threaten our nation, both through the air, and we have to deal with that. I don't think we have to spend enough money or effort and testing to make sure everything works to defend our people in Hawaii and in Washington, D.C., across our 50 states and our territories. That's number one from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you another thing, and this is what you say is true, because we often use the analogy about football and the high-profile guys, the quarterbacks, the receivers, and the grunts on the line that are really doing the heavy load is important. I'm thinking that my main concern, and it always has been ever since I met you regarding this situation about missile defense, is that most people don't understand the difference between weapons and defense. And I think that there's where the stumbling block is. It's hard to get people behind something if they think that they're doing something that's against their mindset, meaning weapons.
And less than 2% of our defense budget is spent on defensive weapons. 98% of it is on offense. So we're part of that little 2% that's really out there trying to get that increased a little bit so we can have that capability, not just to protect, but to shape, because the dynamics of the world are changing. We are now becoming the lone superpower, but you have China challenging us. You've got Russia challenging that aspect of it. They're trying to rechange some of the boundaries and some of the status quo that's been the last 50 years or so. So we have to have an ability to not allow that to happen.
There's got to be somewhere a questionnaire that John Q. Citizen can fill out that says, okay, here's what we are. What's more important to you, being able to go and attack people or being able to protect yourself in your home? Right?
Yeah.
And yet we're talking 2% and 98%. Is it because the glamorous stuff?
We're not even at 2%, Mike. We're at 1.4%. I mean, if we get 2%, that would be great. I'd like to get 2%.
We're number 98. That's the whole. You see, but the whole point is that in spite of the overwhelming odds against the concept of defense, there are enough people that are recognizing it that you are getting almost what you need. But isn't this true that this session is going to determine where our next several billion gets spent?
Absolutely. And this session is going to, whether they're going to break sequestria and increase that funding for the defense of this nation is probably a pivotal position here with this Congress. And what they're going to have to give up and take with the president. The president, they're going to have to work together. That's what we hope. That's what the Congress is built for. Not a single force, but two sides working together to get a compromise. And we need something better than we've had the last couple of years.
Okay, well, I know one thing for sure, and this is based on your many times here and your close working relationship, particularly with the Barking Sand operation. We know that Hawaii is on the precipice of having a tremendous amount of budget shortfall based on the cutback in military spending. We all want to be a part of the solution, but isn't it easy to see, well, hey, wait a minute, if we're going to cut this and cut that, what about who's going to protect us? I mean, if we don't have enough people or enough assets, who's going to take care of shooting down the bad guys? That's where you come in.
That's absolutely right. And you have a huge void without Senator Inouye that's passed away, that you're not in the seniority position to protect the assets that he protected so well for Hawaii. And many people inside the 48 states don't understand how valuable both you and Alaska are in terms of being out front against our biggest foe and our biggest threat down the future, which is China and the Asia-Pacific region.
Yeah,
and how important that is. We've got to get your congressmen, your newly elected ones, and the ones up there, to get them more involved in creating partnerships with Alaska, with some of our West Coast states, to demand and get that momentum back to make sure we are well protected from the 48 from Hawaii and Alaska.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I know that everybody wants to say we're different. But you pointed that out in the very beginning of the conversation today. There is a big difference between defense and offense. And what I'm getting at is that people here in Hawaii can't see the forest for the trees. We have a paradigm shift going on in Washington. Everybody here, we've taken for granted for so long, Ricky, the expenditure, the military expenditure, the testing, Pearl Harbor, the shipyard. We've taken it all for granted, and every single bit of it, as we know, it could be taken away if we don't really learn how to speak up.
Yep. And I think missile defense is one of the key things that Hawaii can do that no other state can do as well as they can do it. And that is the Barking Sands opportunity that's there. That is your AOC center there, where they're going to bring in these other nations from around the Pacific to train them, to integrate them. That is your Aegis destroyer ships that are based there that have ballistic missile defense. That is your new Aegis Ashore site that's going to be put in Romania and Poland, that's based right now in Hawaii. We've also got to get Hawaii fully protected from the threat.
Yeah.
All those things make a big sense, but we need to have push here in Congress to get the other states, because there's only two representatives and 2 senators there. That's not enough. We've got to get more education to the rest of the states on how important Hawaii is.
You bring up something pretty interesting. I mean, we're looking right now at the effects of this Sony, hacking job and this huge this movie, which nobody would have cared anything about before you found out about, well, this hacking and they're going to kill Kim Jong-un and all of this stuff. This movie is going through the roof. What are we doing except upsetting the hornet's nest?
Just imagine if they had the capability to strike Hawaii and had a weapon system ready to go. Instead of doing the cyber, they could they could use that in leverage capability against the sanctions they're getting or against the threat of that. So that's another whole capability that we have to be 100%, not 98, not 97, 100% capable and reliable of protecting Hawaii and Guam. And I don't think we're there yet. Obviously, it's classified stuff, but we need to be there, and we need to make sure we have funding and support to get 100% ability to defend the state of Hawaii.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I want to drive people to the website, because I went to the Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance website and looked at what I thought was a fireworks display celebrating New Year's. And what it was another successful demonstration of the effectiveness of this current system, and it just needs a little tweak here and a little tweak there before it can literally, like you say, disseminate to the rest of the world from Hawaii.
Right, and then we need to do it. This Congress needs to get in charge of it. We need to get these systems in place in Hawaii, and we need to be able to fully protect our people.
All right, well, you are right there in Washington, D.C., and you're looking at this, and here comes, we're minutes away from this new action. Everybody's got to put their finger in the pie right now. Is it going to be a matter of hungry birds in the nest, or squeaky wheel gets the grease? What is it?
No, I think it's the bigger play with Mitch McConnell, the head of the majority of the Senate, Republican leader, and what he's going to want to negotiate with the president on, and it's those big ticket items that are the big things that he's going to want to get pushed, not the little squeaky items.
Yeah, right, but the thing that bothers me, Ricky, about that is it looks like it's pipeline and Obamacare, and those are the big the glitzy items on the list. But the bottom line is, who's going to take care of us?
Yeah. And the bottom line is our military getting that voice, the chairman getting that voice with the Republican majority to move those action items in.
Yeah, and it's our prayer and hope here, and very shortly on the program we're going to be speaking with Congresswoman Gabbard. That this coalition, this Democratic coalition, learns how to work with the majority party. I mean, if they don't, we're just not going to get where we need to be. And not only are we going to suffer here financially, but the country's going to suffer.
Right. And I'm going back to where I think Hawaii's got a great chip in the game is this missile defense for Gabbard to be able to partnership with that. That's right up the line. I mean, that you're going to bring income into Hawaii. That should be our number one testing range in the world, to do everything, to do our directed energy, to do our laser development, to do the future fighting of what we need to have to defend our country should be based in Barking Sands, Hawaii.
Yeah, and that's why we want to drive people to the website and get them involved. I'm hoping that contributions and membership from Hawaii are on the increase. I do know that you can take a couple of dollars and think you're doing well, but when you put a whole bunch of them together, you can get some real action. What are some of the events coming up real early in the year?
Well, we're going to be going over into Japan, and we're doing a big event with the Japanese Navy and the U.S. Navy 7th Fleet.
That's terrific. That's really terrific.
Big one. We're going to be dropping by Guam to see our troops over there. We have a THAAD battery that's based in protecting Guam. We'll be meeting with them and seeing and recognizing that group as well.
What's the best way people can find out more about what you're doing and where you're going?
Through my website is the best way to do it, and that's the Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance website. You can Google that, and you can look up my name or MDAA, and you'll find that site.
Okay, going out the door, we're a few days away from the first College Bowl, national championship. As you know, we're so pleased that Marcus Mariota was able to drive the Ducks to victory. What's your big Riki Ellison prediction for the big game coming up?
Well, I tell you what, I love it because the SEC had a lock and hold on that bowl game for the last 7 years.
Right.
So we've opened it up, and guess what? They're not the best team. Ohio State took it to them right down the heart, and they destroyed them physically, big man on big man. I go, Mike, as I always go, the team that has the best defense is going to win this game. And right now, I don't think Oregon's defense is that good. Even though they got a great offense, I don't think they're at the same caliber as the Ohio State defense. It'll be a close game. but I think Ohio State may have the tools because they have a defense that can shut it down.
Right up to a minute ago, I kind of liked you, and now and now I think. But by the same token,
he's going to score points, but you gotta stop people to win these big games.
But the interesting thing to me is, when was the last time you could look into the stands and seen all the fans making the O?
I've been to that stadium numerous times over the USC decade.
Yep.
And that's powerful. They are out of control. That fan base is out of control.
Okay. Well, let's hope that they. I just want to go.
I'm a Pac-12 guy like you.
I know.
I'm just giving you the reality. I mean, nobody that walked into Alabama and took them, beat them like they did. I mean, that was tremendous.
They spanked them to death, didn't they? But by the same token, hey, listen, Oregon took care of Florida State. I mean, they just shut them right out the window.
Yeah, but Florida State gave up. You saw that. They quit. I mean, that's not a sign of a championship team. They quit.
Well, let's not us quit, Ricky. It's been a great year. It's been a great several years. I look to sharing a lot of information in 2015, and I thank you for what you do and your stick-to-itness, and I hope a lot of people from Hawaii go to the website, check you out, and give you some support.
Yeah, Mike, and I think we're going to be out there in Hawaii in the spring, February, March. I think there'll be some testing done, so I look forward to seeing you in person.
You got it, Ricky. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us, and let's hope in a few minutes when the session opens up that they what they say here, like here in Hawaii, cool head main thing.
Okay.
Aloha. Take care. There you go. Riki Ellison, Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance. Check it out. Here's traffic with Malin.